Hello and welcome to Bad Boy Cinema. I'm your host, Rick Reel, and with me is Comrade Cinema. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great. Glad to be back on the mic. We
Good.
took, here at the Bad Boy Cinema Studios, we took Labor Day off because doing the podcast is work. And by we, I mean me, because it's just me still. But I'm glad to be back and happy to discuss with you Chris N's 2008 film, The Dark Knight,
Yeah.
starring Christian Bale and a bunch of other people. Wow, it made over $1 billion in the box office.
I
This
did
movie
not know
was
that.
huge,
That's pretty
dude.
fucking crazy. I did not
It was
realize it
huge.
made
I didn't know
over
it
a
was that
billion.
big.
I didn't realize movies did that before Marvel movies, to be quite frank.
Well, this
You
one
know?
kind of set the blueprint in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I kind of remember that happening. It was this and Iron Man were sort of the two breakouts.
Because superhero movies were bad. Like I know, like
Mm-hmm.
the people who listen to this podcast skew a little younger than us, so they don't necessarily like. They're like, oh yeah, Spider-Man 2, that was a good superhero movie. And that was like that's the only good one before
Yeah,
this.
because
And
before this, superhero movies were like The Phantom or The Shadow, which were like great movies that I love, but they're also dog shit movies. Like,
right, and they're like
yeah.
they're appealing in a way that like The Dark Knight is. I think it's a good movie, right? Like I don't know
Yeah.
how you feel about it. I mean, presumably you asked to do this movie, so presumably you like it. Uh,
Yeah, I would say it's a good movie. Definitely, I enjoyed it thoroughly this time that I watched it. I probably haven't watched it in about 10 years, but
this
you
was the
know,
first time I've watched it all the way through in one sitting. Like I think I've seen the movie in totality, but like in different chunks, all scattered about because I never saw it in theaters, but it was something that like was such a pop cultural thing that like you have all the lines quoted at you in like high school, and then people are like showing The Dark Knight at their house, like they're just putting it on like on TV in the
yeah,
background just as something to have. So like I absorbed so much of the movie through osmosis. But this was my first time kind of sitting through it all the way through, and I don't know how long. 152 minutes, so that's like just
2.5 hours
yeah,
about.
2.5 hours. It felt way longer than that. I
Yeah,
think
it
that was my
really
biggest
it
complaint.
did.
Like the movie just
Yeah,
keeps fucking going.
yeah, it feels like three movies, like three short movies smashed into each other,
It does,
kind of
yeah.
like it definitely. It's kind of interesting. I felt like it could be shorter, or it would have been nice if it was shorter, but also I couldn't think of a single scene that they could have cut out of the movie that would have
Right.
the
I
movie
mean,
would have still been as good. Like
for
nothing
Chris,
nothing detracted.
yeah, no, I wouldn't take anything out either. But like as I was watching it and like having seen it sort of before, I wasn't necessarily paying 100% attention to it.
Yeah.
You know how it is. With
Yeah.
movies you've seen before, it's easy to kind of just sort of have it fade out into the background. But what I guess didn't realize in my previous watchings was that it kind of takes a while to get going, and like the Joker's like around the whole time, but he's kind of like not a big deal for like 40 minutes or something.
Yeah.
Outside of that like opening scene where they're doing like the bank robbery or whatever, like he's just like mentioned, and it's like a mob. It's a weird movie like structurally, and like compared to other Chris N movies, which people are like, oh yeah, Inception, that's a complicated film, and I'm a erudite man for understanding like the fucking dream mechanics, which is stupid, but
Yeah, it's not that complicated.
it's not that complicated. But
It's really not
this
that
movie,
complicated.
there's like kind of a lot going on.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on, and I think he uses editing incredibly well to stitch together things that would not work if he hadn't edited them so well. Like I think in the tunnel scene, they go into the tunnel and it's daytime, and when they emerge from the tunnel, it's pitch black outside.
Yeah.
And he does that all through, obviously editing. That's how you make a movie. But yeah, but yeah, no, it's pretty impressive how he does that, I think.
Yeah, and just like I didn't realize like how much of it's kind of like a weird mob movie that like kind of has like Batman shit just sort of like stapled to it, and it works. Like I'm not saying it's not cohesive, like it is a cohesive Batman thing, but it feels like a different movie that was like retrofitted to be a superhero movie, which is probably why it did well. Like, because before this, like superhero shit was really cheesy, and I would even say like Iron Man's cheesier
cheesy
than
as hell.
this.
Yeah,
it's cheesier than this for
I
sure.
mean, it starts with Back in Black, right? So
Yeah,
it's hard not to be cheesy when you start with that.
right. But like this is like it's trying to be really grounded, and I kind of like, I guess looking back, seeing what has spawned from this movie existing. I mean, and Iron Man, but also this movie. Like, this is the reason why the MCU is probably where it is. Like, I kind of hate the movie for that. You know what I mean? Like, it sort of, it sort of set the stage for a lot of like shitty Marvel movies.
Yeah, it did that. It also kind of like it helped establish the thing that superhero movies had to be serious,
right?
which I
Like,
kind of think Marvel might have been a little bit of a rebellion against later with like the Taika Waititi movies, but like yeah,
they
it really
do
kind of
bounce out
set
of
the
it. Yeah,
seriousness. Yeah. It
yeah.
set the seriousness of them, which I sort of hate sometimes because the Tim Burton Batmans are very fun, and it would be nice
Like
to see a movie like that made
superhero
again.
shit is kind of goofy, right? And like
Yeah.
as a fucking weeb, I enjoy like an anime or manga kind of superhero shit, because it's like it doesn't try and be serious about it. Like, it still kind of captures like the vibe of a comic book. I mean, literally, because like manga is comics, so like duh. But
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I've been reading Go Go Loser Ranger as a quick plug to all the weebs listening. That's pretty good, and that's got kind of a funky kind of campiness to it. But yeah, it's like, and I guess as a side observation, I've noticed that like regular people, and I guess no one really listening to this probably counts as a regular person, but
Probably not.
probably not, because like 5 people listen to it. But for those outside of those 5,
Outside the people that guest on the show.
well, other than that though, there's a like, I feel like regular people like shit to be realistic. Like, I think they fucking hate cartoons and shit. They like their movies to be immersive and real. Like, they're the people going to see all these fucking live action Disney remakes that are bad, but they want to see it because it's not a cartoon anymore, and that makes it better. Like,
the reason Ubisoft has consistent sales, basically.
Yeah, exactly. It's just that's where AAA gaming is going after. It's just like the normie market is just people who like fucking realism games that make you feel like, and then whatever X is. So,
I mean, I definitely fall into that category,
and that's
quite a bit.
fine. It's just it's as
somebody
who doesn't fall into that,
so I enjoy that stuff.
Yeah. I don't fall into it, so I get upset when the market caters to that audience. Although, admittedly, I get it. That's where the largest part of the money, like, well, you could probably make more money per sale, like doing something kind of not catering to that, not higher, fidelity, high immersion shit, which is admittedly like what Nintendo does. But this is about movies.
Yeah. No, definitely. I think this movie's kind of funny. I was going to say, in like a kind of weird way, it reminds me of a Michael Mann movie. Like God, he did like Thief, and like probably something more recent than this, but Miami Vice.
Yeah,
which came out around the same time as this movie, like a year or two before, I think.
Really giving Last of the Mohicans.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, is that wait? Last of the Mohicans is Michael Mann. Man, I should.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah,
Like
well, I mean,
great,
it kind of
great
reminded
film.
me of Miami Vice in that it's like a lot of like quiet talking and then real loud shit.
That
You know?
unfortunately, that's just all like how Chris N mixes his
Yeah.
fucking audio. It's really annoying. And today, like I had to be quiet because my girlfriend was like taking the LSAT at home, and like they have like an online proctor person, so you have to like show off the whole room to make sure there's like nothing in there that you could like
Yeah, yeah.
cheat with or like hang yourself or something. I don't fucking know, but like like yeah, they're really thorough about it, and they don't want
Yeah.
no one else can go in the room. You can't make any noise. So I was like watching the movie at like 10 or 15 audio on my TV,
Turning it
and
down
it
every
was
once in a
basically
while.
on mute,
Yeah.
except for when like people would yell, and then I'd hear like a sentence kind of clearly, and then it'd be back to just reading subtitles.
Yeah. See, right now my neighbor has a baby at their house. I think it's their baby. It might not be, but
Well,
so
I'd
I'm
hope
just
so.
playing stuff as loud as I can because I'm hearing crying through the floor at like 2 in the morning. So I'm like, what are they
Fuck
gonna do?
that baby, man.
Yeah. I'm like, what are they gonna do? Complain about how loud I am? They have the fucking baby. You know?
I feel like if somebody like a third party were to hear both sides of that, like I don't think you would win.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I definitely lose. I mean, it's an unreasonable thing to take.
I'm gonna get into a little feud with a baby,
Yeah,
and
with a
who's to say if
baby.
you'll come out on top?
Yeah, I think they might think I have a baby because of the cats, because they
Yeah.
hear like high pitched shrieking coming from my
And
apartment.
like
But who
maybe like
knows?
toddlers, and they're running around, so they hear all the
Yeah, yeah.
footsteps and stuff.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of thumping.
Yeah, yeah. I wonder what. Well, I mean, one time like our neighbors just were like blasting incredibly loud like Spanish music at like midnight with like their doors open. And we did not love that. That was pretty rude.
Yeah, that's what my old apartment was like. I looked out onto a complex that had barbecues almost every single night. And that
Oh
was
yeah, like do they
super
just like
fun.
pull out their shit on like the in the parking lot
Yep.
and just like
Yeah.
yeah, mine does that too. Yep.
Yep. It's super great.
And we don't get invited.
Nope. No.
So The Dark Knight. I what do you think of Christian Bale as Batman? Who I like even watching the movie when he is just being Batman and isn't being Bruce Wayne or whatever, like I fucking forget that it's still Christian Bale.
Yeah. I mean, he's pretty fucking good at it, I think. It's like, he gets, well, what is he? He's like a character actor, right? So he just like ruins people's lives around him to get into the character.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
mean,
I think he does a pretty good job as it, you know.
does he have like does Christian is he married?
Huh. I don't
Does
know.
he have people in his life?
I have no idea. I feel like no.
Oh, he has a spouse who is
Oh wow.
somebody I've never heard of.
Ooh, he's married to a normie. Nice.
Yeah, so they were married in 2000, but she was like a stunt driver for Ford v Ferrari, which he would like just move, and The Dark Knight Rises. So he just like
Huh.
married this girl and then got her jobs doing stunt stuff, is what it sounds like. Good for her.
Yeah.
Sibi Sibi is her first name, and then Blazic Blazic. Folks, if you know how to pronounce any of that,
That's probably Blazich. But I don't know.
I don't know.
Who's to say?
He doesn't seem like the type who would have married somebody in 2000 and just like stayed with them for 24 years, and that's good for him. I know this is a common thing to I think complain about and like not tweet about, but make comment of. But why do they cast Maggie Gyllenhaal?
Yeah, I think that was when Katie Holmes was like deep in the Scientology dungeon, right? So like she was like not in the film because of that, something like that. But yeah, it's a very funny like we have Katie Holmes at home kind of thing. I feel like
it was so funny watching, and not no disrespect to Maggie
yeah.
Gyllenhaal, but the whole movie they're like, wow, Rachel, nice.
Yeah.
That's a hot piece of ass. And I'm just watching the movie. I even remember in high school, I was like,
Yeah, I feel like this was this was the second time I'd ever seen her or anything, and the first time it was in Stranger Than Fiction, where she plays like a believable love interest for Will Ferrell. So it's sort of like, that was like, I'm like, huh, this is a kind of weird casting. Yeah, I mean, she's very pretty, but she's very pretty in like a very achievable for me to date her kind of way.
yeah, she looks like a
Like,
regular person, which is
yeah,
fine, but
yeah. Like if
don't
I
make
met
every
Maggie
character
Gyllenhaal,
go,
yeah,
"Ooh, Rachel, oh boy!" Like, don't do that. Like,
yeah. I
it
feel like
feels a
if I
little,
met her in real life, I'd have a reasonable chance of getting her phone number. You
yeah,
know, yeah.
and
So
that's great.
the people's Katie Holmes.
Who else was in this? The guy from Lost was in it as the mayor.
Oh yeah, that guy. I was trying to remember that dude's name. Something Borgian.
It's
The
like
guy who
it's like
plays the crazy
Nestor
sniper.
something.
Yeah.
Nestor Carbonell. Yeah. And he's been in a bunch of shit, but mostly he was in Shogun. Really?
Interesting.
That's crazy. I need to watch that show still. That's
David
wild.
Dastmalchian is the guy
He was
I
in
was
this.
thinking of.
That
Yeah,
guy's
David
in
Dastmalchian.
everything.
I love him. I heard a good interview with him, and he was very funny and like down to earth, and he's also super into ghosts and like the supernatural. So like now I'm just a big fan. So it's always
Did you
nice to
see?
see him in something.
There's some movie that he was in like this year or maybe
Oh,
last year.
was it the Interview with the Devil or
Yeah,
something
yeah, yeah.
like
Was that any
late
good? Did
night?
you see that?
I did not see it. It's supposed to be pretty good, but I have not seen it.
You definitely have to watch this movie. Little tip of the hat to Matt Dougzone. The Dark Knight.
Dark Knight cast. What do I got?
Heath Ledger, of course.
Oh, the guy who played Salvatore was great. The Italian dude. I think they just refer to him as the Italian.
He does. I remember at least the Joker call. He's like, "Where's the Italian?" And I'm like, "Hey,
There you go."
you said that a little. There's a little tone there, Heath.
I like the way Google lists this, but Heath Ledger is listed as Joker, Joker. So that means that I guess the Joker's first and last name are Joker. Like I would have gone Joker, but
Damn, and Gary Oldman wasn't that old of a man at the time of
it was not.
this movie.
Did he get canceled?
Did he?
Or something? I think he like choked his wife or something.
He's been married and divorced. He's been divorced 5 times. And,
wow.
Or 4 times and married 5 times. So.
Damn, dude.
Oh,
yeah. Anthony Michael Hall. He was good.
Who was he?
He was the one of the reporters. Yeah, there's a whole lot of fucking dudes in this movie. A lot of that guys in this movie.
Yeah, there are a lot of that guys. Cillian Murphy's in it for like 3 seconds.
Oh man, I love Cillian Murphy.
What
a beautiful man.
I'm an Aaron Eckhart enjoyer. He's in a lot of bad stuff, but
yeah, I'm a big fan. I liked Thank You for Smoking a lot.
Thank You for Right. That's what I was going to say. Yeah. Thank You for Smoking is great. Should do that on the podcast. That's a good. That's a good movie.
Yeah, record it outside so you can be smoking the entire time. That would be fun. Ugh. Michael Caine, obviously.
Yeah, it's a good, pretty stacked cast. Yeah, it's just like you were saying earlier, it does feel like 3 shorter movies that were like just sort of mushed together.
Yeah, I can't really like divide this movie into like a simple like first, second, third act kind of structure because there's like 3 climaxes So it's sort of like, yeah, there's like 3 acts of the movie, but they all each have their own individual like lulls and climaxes.
Well,
Which is
like for
weird.
me, it's like the movie's kind of, I'm not gonna say boring, but it's like until I guess when the Joker tries to assassinate the guy from Lost.
Mm-hmm.
That's what for me, like when the movie starts, kind of.
Yeah,
Like
I can see
obviously there's
that.
all this like stuff in the first, I mean, I don't know exactly when in the movie that happens. I'm going to say 40 minutes in, that's what it feels like in my heart. But there's stuff before that that's kind of like setting up like the Italian mafia, the fucking Chinese mafia, which I didn't really, I'll be real. I didn't really understand why the Chinese mafia was involved.
I don't know. I think that's like part of that. Like, it's got to be realistic. Therefore, China will be involved. You
I
know?
mean, yeah, maybe because I'm watching the movie. I was just like, okay, I get the Italian mobsters are just there to be like regular criminals that like the Joker kind of like hangs out with.
Yeah, I'm like, but
It
like,
has this like,
why is a legitimate Chinese businessman here?
yeah. I was like, we could have maybe just not had that plot point at all, and I don't think the movie really changes that much.
Yeah, it would have. Yeah, I mean, it's very much kind of like a throwaway thing, but I think it's nice. It is nice to have this be like the one movie where it's not the Russian mafia that's like the ultimate in evil.
It's
Because
the Chinese.
the Chinese this time, I'm like, ooh, yeah, old fashioned xenophobia. That's what I'm looking for. But yeah, no, I mean, everything at this point, everything was like the Russian mafia. Everyone was terrified of it.
And we've kind of switched back to the Russian mafia
We
too.
have.
I
Well,
guess
I think John Wick never let go of it.
yeah, yeah. But like I guess 2008, I don't know when they're shooting this. Probably like what 2000. Do they say anywhere?
Yeah, I
No.
mean, like this was around the time Eastern Promises came out.
Well, just people were really big on China like being
Yeah.
the next superpower, which I guess they
Mhm.
kind of did do that. Uh,
Yeah, I
but
remember this was around the time that like you started seeing things where like the we needed to have like an enemy from the East, but because they needed to be able to sell it to Chinese consumers, it was North Korea that was like the
yeah,
one successfully invading America. Just one of, like, one of the funniest like twists to any remake was when Red Dawn was North Korea taking over the United States. It's just like that's not, dude. Like, come on, man. Like, that's absurd. But yeah, that's beginning of this.
yeah.
Very good.
Do you remember that like around the same time, because people were like, China's going to be the next big thing, and they're like, and then India is going to be the
Mhm.
next superpower after China, and they've been saying that for. They're still saying it, and
Yeah,
I don't know if that's gonna.
yeah.
I
I
don't know if
think
that was
like
gonna happen.
India's kind of stepping into the scene a little bit recently, but yeah, it's. I guess neither of those are like military policey enough to the world, so like for us to see it yet. But who knows? Yeah,
Yeah, we need a Dark Knight remake where it's the Indian
yeah,
mob.
yeah. I like that. That would be like, yeah, yeah. That would be fun.
I don't. Is there Indian organized crime? I mean,
There
I'm sure
has
there
to be.
has to be. I just don't know what they.
Yeah, I mean, all of my like conceptions of what it would be like are very problematic.
I mean, look, I know they
So
have a lot of disorganized crime there,
yeah, yeah,
but surely they have some kind of like crime, organized crime in India. All right, this is now a true crime podcast, which it never was before. Uh, oh wow, yeah, they do have an Indian kind of mafia sort of thing. That's fun.
I know that they've been having like a giant, kind of like anarcho Maoist revolution happening in like East India for a while. And there's
Really?
like, yeah, it's been happening since the 60s, which is, yeah, it's pretty interesting.
All I know is that randomly my Twitter algorithm, like, and I am convinced, like, I don't think it's me doing anything, but I think it's like Elon, like, playing with some dials. My Twitter algorithm randomly shifts to just being people being very hateful towards Indian people.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm not on
Yeah, it's pretty.
that.
It's just weird because it's like really specific stuff too. Where there was one where it's like, it was calling out people who drive like Tesla, um, like the like the crossover like SUV Tesla with like the new driver sticker on it, and they're like, oh, they're moving up to Dallas. And unfortunately, based on where I live, like I knew what kind of racism that was supposed to be, because there's a lot of those types of vehicles around the area that I live, and it's a certain type of person driving them most of the time.
That's interesting.
I think I was like, oh, I knew that. That's bad. But also, why is this on my feed?
All that stuff for me is like colored through the lens of the fact that Portland is overwhelmingly white. So when I think of Teslas, I think of like dudes in Columbia jackets, like white guys.
Well, no, for the longest time, like, I mean, Austin's pretty white too, but the specific like neighborhood that I lived in and kind of still do live in, it's like a ton of Indian people live there. So I'm like, in my old apartment complex specifically, like I was like, not as an Italian, I was the minority.
That's how I am in my complex too.
It's good. It's I think it builds character.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, it's good.
What else? What else about the Dark Knight that really?
Oh God.
Grabs you.
One of my favorite parts, and I think a lot of people's favorite parts about the Dark Knight, is Michael Caine in general, but especially his Some Men, Mr. Wayne just want to watch the world burn. And I was thinking about that coming up to like record this, and it's very funny because he says they were helping. So he's a British guy in Southeast Asia or South Asia, I think, Myanmar. I can't remember. I think it's Southeast, but
yeah.
So he's a British guy down there, meaning that it's like the. At first, I was like, were they still a colony at that point? So he's talking about hunting down a bandit that's like fighting against the colonials, and it's not that. So at that point, they were basically a fascist military junta, and that's what when he says, "I was helping the government find this man," and then he's helping this this military junta hunt down a bandit, and then the bandit isn't keeping any of the diamonds, which is just so funny because it's just like, no, dude, you were literally a mercenary fighting for fascism. and it's not that some men want to watch the world burn, it's that like some men don't like the establishment. That's, I don't know.
People say that about the Joker too.
I know, dude. That's what they say.
The movie's kind of fascism-y in general.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I mean, you have to add Lucius Fox is the conscience of this movie.
Yeah.
Like Batman has like two external consciences, and it's fucking Michael Caine who's just like, do fascism harder, and then Lucius Fox is just like, I don't know about this, man. This is not a good idea.
Yeah, I like when he's using all the phones in Gotham to like just have sonar of everything. And Lucius Fox is just like, this is like, he turns to the camera and says, this is bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like explicitly. And I'm like, oh, I get the messaging. Very subtle writing from Chris N, as always. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it is cool though. Unfortunately, I mean, that's kind of what superhero movies are in general to a degree. It's sort of like they're all a little Ubermenschy kind of fascism adjacent. But if the people in charge were good.
Yeah, exactly. Like what if Super Daddy came and saved us?
That'd be great. Although I do think that to some degree, the film does try, and I think more than like the films that precede it in this kind of genre. I say this kind of genre as it's not just fucking cape shit, but you know, it does try, I think, to sort of make Batman seem to be like doing bad stuff. Like he's doing it for the right reasons, but like he doesn't get out of it as squeaky clean as other, like, to my recent memory of other like superhero films that
I mean,
wouldn't invoke the same stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like one thing I think to remember that I remembered when I was watching this movie is that like, oh yeah, Batman just flings 3 Rottweilers to their doom off of a building at some point in this movie. Like
That
when
is
he's being
cool.
attacked by the Rottweilers, he throws them off the fucking building, and you don't see the Rottweilers like dangling upside down like with people. And I'm like, yeah, Batman kills dogs. He is like the ultimate cop, therefore he kills dogs. And it's, of course, those weren't like the most innocent dogs since they're trying to maul Batman. Like, I'm not really blaming him that much, but you know, it's just casual animal death.
I can't decide what Chris End's like message is with the movie. I'm not entirely sure he has one. I mean, maybe I'm being stupid. Like, I as a Chris End defender, I don't know if he was just like, I just want to make a cool fucking mafia movie, and also there's Batman here. You know,
yeah,
I don't know
he's
if
got like he's got some like vaguely fashy tendencies, I'd say. Like this and the sequel, you know, both have like
yeah.
Like the sequel, I'm sure people watch and are like, it's the woke mob that's killing Gotham. You know, that's probably what they're thinking. Like when you see Scarecrow putting people on trial. But yeah, that's, I mean, he's got some tendencies. And I think, like I said, the thing with the ruby the size of a tangerine, that shows some of that tendency, like the lens that he looks at the world through, which is that the authorities are good.
Yeah.
You know, how are you going to make a Batman movie without basically saying that?
Has a Batman movie been made that? I mean, I'm sure maybe they explore it more with like the cartoons and stuff, because I feel like from what I've observed through osmosis, is not like a huge DC guy in general. I feel like the cartoons do a better job with like capturing the characterization, because like this movie, like, I mean, I don't think I've even seen Batman Begins at all. Don't think I've seen it, but
it's a fun one. I mean, it's enjoyable, I would say. Worth watching.
But I feel like you don't like get a whole lot of Bruce Wayne characterization in this. Like it's he's exploring like we live in a society basically, and like different kind of thought experiments throughout the film. That's kind of through the machinations of the Joker. I don't know, like it. I'm a big character guy, but like thinking about the movie that I just watched, you know, like an hour ago, I don't know how much of it is super. Do we know who Christian Bale's Batman is? I mean, I guess in the sequel they kind of, I feel like they touch on that a little bit better.
Yeah, they definitely do touch on it more in the sequel and in the, you know, not prequel, but the first movie.
Yeah.
But
like no one talks about Batman Begins. People are just like, oh yeah, the Dark Knight's fucking great.
Yeah. Well, the Dark came into it with a lot of advantages, just because, like, number one, it's called the Dark Knight, so like it's going to immediately harken to the Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
Which is like, you know, fucking, or Dark Knight Returns, which is like one of the best comic books ever written. So, you know, especially if you really like tones of fascism, same thing. You know,
I think people want fascism more than they care to admit.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason that when it happens, there isn't usually like an immediate giant popular revolution against it.
Yeah, people are like, oh, this is pretty good.
Yeah,
I don't know, it's weird. And it is cool. They make it look cool in the movies. You know?
Yeah.
Well, then it's like to think back on like Furiosa, right? Like it's crazy because like I don't know what George M's politics are, but like the Chris Hemsworth character, is like kind of treated sort of like kind of commie-ish to start, like a populist kind of commie sort of guy. And then like he's still like the fucking fashy Immortan Joe comes off way better, like as a more competent person. It's I don't know. Maybe that's just how
I have not
movies
seen
work.
Furiosa yet, but I gotta.
Oh,
dude,
you gotta see Furiosa.
Yeah,
I think that's my favorite movie I've watched this year, which is stupid because it's like a franchise movie, but it's a franchise movie nobody watched, so that makes me cool for liking it. Unlike the Dark Knight, which everybody saw. And I don't know why this. I mean, I guess I kind of know why this just picked up. Like every fucking like slightly edgy normie guy fucking loves the Dark Knight. And I think like I do like the movie, but I feel like I'm trying not to like it too much because I don't want to group myself in with those people. Like it was just such a cultural thing, and I wonder how many of the people in the audience just don't even really have an idea of it, you know?
Yeah, and the fucking what's it called? The Aurora shooting also. Did that happen for this movie? Where the guy like shot up the theater?
I think it might have been for Rises.
Because I remember I was waiting in line to see a Batman movie and then got the news alerts that somebody was shooting up a Batman movie.
Yeah, it was Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
Which I don't think is. I know people think that one's bad. I don't think that one is that bad.
It's fine.
Yeah,
I think it drags a lot more than this movie does. Like,
I'll say, I think The Dark Knight Rises has a better opening, and it feels like a little bit more like there's less shit that I have to follow, like logistically. There's no Chinese mafia in The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, I think it's good. And then also like it following like Catwoman, that's an interesting thing because you're like, ooh, something else in the universe that is
like,
not a villain or Batman. Yeah, exactly.
You know, Elliot Film is pulling out the aloe vera for Anne Hathaway. If only it was Angela. If only Elliot Film was here to defend himself. I'm such an asshole. I did nothing wrong. We're just having fun. Wait, Hans Zimmer did this? It doesn't really sound
that makes sense.
Does it?
It doesn't sound super Hans Zimmer
so quietly.
It's not all like beeps and tinkles and stuff, but it's still you can tell it's him. I think he's got the kind of like consistent running underscore.
Yeah, I mean, he would have been a safe guess just because Chris N. But
yeah, plus he's done like every fucking soundtrack during this period.
True. Well, and this, and I think the quality of the Dark, because like I feel like the movies where Chris N's brother gets to like write are usually better. I mean, let's look at Jonathan N's. So he did Memento, The Prestige, The Dark Knight, Dark Knight Rises, and Interstellar. Those are all.
Yeah, he wrote all the best movies.
Although he didn't write Inception, which is crazy because I think if that was a solo Chris N writing job, that's probably the least robotic Chris N has ever been for something that he only worked on himself. Although, I mean, I liked Oppenheimer, but he has, it's based off of a book and also real life.
Yeah, in real life.
So, you have a little bit more there to work with. But yeah, all in all, Dark Knight, good job to Chris N. He made a bunch of money.
Yeah. Did you know they got like fucking real life Parent Trapped? Where like their parents got divorced and one took one and the other took the other. So it's like why one of them is British and one of them's American.
Oh, really?
Like,
that's
with
crazy.
Their accents. Yeah, because at first I was like, why do they sound completely different? That's really fucking weird. Like me and my brother sound almost exactly like each other.
Isn't there like a secret third Nolan brother who is like some fucking hitman or something?
They have like the Property Brothers thing going on.
No, I think I read that somewhere, which is like why Chris N like has a lot of the same sort of like thematic stuff going through his movies, I think.
Wait, so literally they have a brother that's a hitman?
I mean,
That's insane.
hold on, let me make sure I'm not lying. The sword. Like, okay, so I just typed in the third Nolan brother, and the first article from How Stuff Works. So it's
I
real.
Trust them.
Yeah,
Trust
the sordid past of the third Nolan brother. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, Matthew Nolan, the eldest of the Nolan brothers, has quite a checkered past. Oh yeah, he did kill a guy.
Oh, okay. Wow. So
and attempted to break prison. So I think
he attempted to break out of prison also.
That's like what a headline in this article said. I'm not reading all of it.
As far as like a crime being cool, I think prison break is the coolest crime. Because
it is a cool crime because you're not really
no victim at all.
Yeah, I mean, unless you go out and do more shit.
Yeah, it's a crime where you're freeing somebody else. Yeah, I mean, I guess when you like escape and then kill someone to take their clothes and stuff, that's a crime, but that's not the prison break itself.
Yeah, that's a separate crime.
Yeah.
No,
I think it was like, I'm trying to remember which country it is, but there's like a few countries where trying to escape prison is not a crime. And it won't add anything onto your sentence because it's considered like a basic human right to seek freedom, which I think makes a lot of sense. Like, you shouldn't be held accountable for trying to not be in fucking jail. Jail sucks.
Yeah.
Like, it should be like, it's like the part of the pursuit of happiness, you know?
Well, and the Joker does a great job of getting himself out of jail. I will say,
he does, yeah.
To circle back, the amount of like control and power that the Joker has for a movie that is really grounded in like realism felt supernatural.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, maybe is the point, but like to the point where I was like, well, this is, he's not like a manipulative mastermind. He's just like, I have henchmen everywhere because I'm also working with the Italian mob who is working with me because I'm going to give them money, but I'm not going. I don't know. It was it just seemed there's a lot of convenience, like
magically appear places.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of what a lot of the opening 40 minutes of the movie were dedicated to. We're just explaining why the Joker can just sort of do real mind control magic, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I like the bank is basically a big Rube Goldberg machine that just kills everyone.
It is very cool.
Yeah. The whole I think, I mean, this movie starts out really, really strong just with that bank robbery.
No, yeah, the bank robbery is sick, and then it's just like
everything about it. That his tiny little pump shotgun is super cool. Like, I don't know, man.
I like that dude who was trying to shoot him down.
Yeah, that guy. That guy's great. Kind of like, discount James Woods, that dude.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen that guy in other things too.
Yeah, he's that guy.
Yeah, a lot of those. Well, yeah, there's a whole like 2 paragraphs of that guy's.
Yep. Yeah, that scene was so excellent that I immediately went and downloaded Payday. I was like, "Ooh, I gotta rob a bank right now."
I gotta download GTA 5 and do a heist.
Yeah, dude. Payday 2 still has, I think, 60 times the player count of Payday 3. Which is pretty funny.
Like, Payday 3 kind of came and went.
They really shit the bed on the landing, and then that killed it. Other than that, it's a pretty good game, but like
they didn't shit the bed as bad as Sony did with fucking Concord. That's ridiculous. That game was out for like less than a week.
Yeah, it's like
there's no saving this. Pulling the plug.
Man, I had probably the biggest case of Schadenfreude I've ever had because of Concord. Like, I don't even know why. I have no reason to hate it.
I mean,
I guess I
always find a reason to hate shit.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad it died. I think it's very funny. I think it's very funny when corporations blow like $1 billion on something, and then they're like, we cannot recoup the costs on this ever based on the first week, so we're just
Yeah, we're just
It's
gonna
not
shut
even worth
down the
trying.
servers
That's
and
how
save the
bad it
electricity
is.
bill. Yeah, when they're like, thinking about the electricity bill for the servers as far as like profitability. Yeah, I mean that's insane. Like I think like you can still play Battlefield 3.
Yeah, there's a lot of games that are old you can still play.
Yeah. God. Oh man. That shit. I mean, I guess the part of me that's happy is that every time I see a hero shooter fail, I'm like, okay, cool, maybe they'll stop making them and these studios will get to make interesting games again. Like
I don't think the Western. I mean, I'm a huge Glorious Nippon guy,
mhm.
but at
Oh
least
yeah.
in Glorious Nippon, for the most part, they have genres of games still.
Yeah.
That doesn't really exist in the AAA space. It's either like it's a competitive shooter, a Western AAA space, competitive
Yeah,
shooter,
yeah.
or it's like a third person action adventure, which as a genre doesn't exist anymore because it's also an RPG and it's also this
Mhm.
like cinematic, like storytelling single player experience. Like that is it. And occasionally you get drive-in games.
Yeah.
That's all the games.
I'm basically like a Western fan, but that's literally because I like immersive simulators.
And that they
And
do
like
that. They do that. If you like
and
those,
yeah,
you're
and
not
that's
getting them
why the
from Japan.
West, that's the good thing about the West is that immersive sims, and because of that, you end up with ridiculous immersive sims like fucking Kingdom Come,
Yeah.
where you're like a shit flinging peasant. Like that's a great, that's a wonderful thing to have. And I really, and that's, I guess, Concord failing in my mind means that games like Kingdom Come Deliverance have more of a shot.
I mean, I just want games to not be like I'm getting old. I think multiplayer games that are like competitive multiplayer, like playing with your
Mhm.
friends on like a co-op experience, I think that can be fun. But like competitive multiplayer is like such a fucking waste of time. Like when
Yeah,
parents are telling their kids like, "Hey, what video games are a waste of time." As a kid, I was like, "No, they're not." Now I'm like, "Yeah, multiplayer games, like that shit's so stupid. You're not gonna
yeah,
be
definitely.
good enough that this is worth anything, and you're just gonna make yourself mad."
Yes, yeah. I was playing Battlefield recently, and I was just getting upset because I was like, I'm not getting any kills. I'm just getting blown away. And yeah, and then I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna fucking uninstall this. I'm not even enjoying myself. And then I played my Starfield sim and was like, boring simulator. Let me just fucking let me fast travel somewhere. Uh,
Yeah, I deleted Fortnite. I liked Fortnite,
mm,
but I don't know. It just got too like the kids playing it are just too good now, and
yeah,
it
definitely.
wasn't fun anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I think
um,
the only like multiplayer game I've really had fun with recently has been either Payday or like Fall Guys. Like
Fall
Fall
Guys
Guys
is
was super
fun.
fun. Yeah,
It's a silly little game.
exactly.
Yeah.
And when you lose, you're not like pissed off and like flinging your controller because you just
Well,
keep
because it's
getting
so quick
dunked
to just
on.
get into another match. I mean, same with
Yeah,
Fortnite.
exactly.
Honestly, it just became like the speed in which these kids can fucking erect like a massive structure out of nothing.
Yeah, man.
It's too fast. Like they can outbuild you blowing shit up, which I think is from a balancing perspective is not like I don't think
Oh my
that should
god.
be how like that's not how I would do it. I don't have all the data, so I mean maybe Epic Games is
I feel
right
like
to
that's
do
like
that.
the building shit's like the money ball of fucking of
Like as long
Fortnite.
as you have resources, you can just keep building shit
Oh
forever,
my
and
god.
like unless you
Just hide
go out of
inside a
your way to
building.
have like really destructive stuff, which if you're doing that, you won't have stuff to heal or like a real gun. You know what I mean? Like because you only have a limited loadout space.
Interesting.
So if you're not like going hard onto that, like you can just outbuild people and then like just build a structure around somebody, like trap them in a maze and kill them. Like it's so crazy what these kids are doing, and they're like 7 year
Yeah.
olds. Like it's
Yeah, I
cracked out on
played
fucking Adderall. I don't know,
yeah, I
man.
played Fortnite one time and got like headshotted by somebody that was like in a tower that they
Yeah.
built. And I was just like, this is not for me.
My funniest Fortnite win, which is so stupid to talk about, but my funniest Fortnite win was like there's these dudes shooting at me and my friend, like they're on top of a hill and behind them was like a boulder that was like being held up by like a stick. And
Oh
so I
man.
was like, huh. So I shot the stick holding up the boulder just rolls down the hill and kills them.
Oh hell yeah. That's pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah, like there's occasionally times in Fortnite where you can like be a smart person and think and like, not just Twitch build shit and like have a good time, but yeah, most of the time, if you're playing builds, it's just crazy children. And then if you're playing no builds, then you're playing like cracked out, sweaty adults, and like it's just you're not. I just want to play with like regular fucking dudes who are just unwinding after work.
That is actually very funnily kind of what Call of Duty is capable of being, even though it's like the sweatiest.
That's kind of what I hear. Like, because most
yeah.
people who are like playing COD are just like dudes with a job.
Yeah, it's literally like it's a game that you don't have to think about. That what you do is run around and shoot people, and like the guns are cool, and you unlock them enough at a steady enough clip that it's like not super grindy. So yeah, I mean it's hilariously enough like as long as you don't really get into it, the least toxic space for that.
Yeah,
yeah.
Dude, I've been so like I have been saying this whole conversation that like competitive games are a waste of time, but now I'm trying to get into like competitive like Pokemon, which is like it's like chess, but like fucking harder. And it's such a time consuming thing to like build your team of guys. And then like you build your team of guys, and then you're like, okay, I spent a lot of time getting all their stats the way I want them, and you know they have all the moves I want and shit, or just catching the fucking things. It's annoying. And then you like go online and you just encounter people using like the cheesiest shit ever, and it's the most frustrating goddamn thing on the planet.
Yeah, I mean because there are like certain decks that are just way too good, right?
Well, it's like with the game, it's like you know you can have a guy like randomly boost his stats, and then another guy will copy that ability to randomly boost his stats, and then he'll also just make himself unable to be hit unless you have a move that ignores like evasion checks. And then like some people will just have that, and like in a best of one format, if you're not prepared for it, like oh you lost, like have fun. It's really frustrating. There's like a lot of 50-50s that they force on people, and it's just yeah. I don't know, but I'm going to compete in a regional event in San Antonio and probably lose every match, but I'll do it for fun.
So like with cards or like
computer? No, like in the game, like on the Switch.
Nice.
Yeah. I spent today transferring a thing I had from one of the games to the current one. Just because like you can't get in the current one, so I had to download a whole other fucking thing. It's silly, man. Don't get into competitive Pokemon. It's a fucking nightmare.
I was not planning on it. I'm terrible at competitive games.
Yeah. Well, we've almost hit an hour, so we can bring this in for a landing. And you have any final thoughts on The Dark Knight and not video games, which we've been talking about?
Oh yeah, no, I know. I don't know. I think this is a pretty good movie. Like I said, it could have been like half an hour shorter, but I couldn't imagine a single thing that could be cut out of it.
I still think think some of this beginning shit, like that beginning setting up all the gang politics shit, I think you could cut that down, but it would still be hard to explain like why characters are doing what they're doing.
Yeah, or like why he has the sonar thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they could cut out the entire like Chinese money laundering.
Yeah, again, like that's still pretty good. I'd give it like a 4.
Yeah,
we're on Letterboxd. Yeah,
I'd say that's a 4 out of 5. It's pretty good.
Do you have anything to plug?
I do not. No.
Cool. I'm like you don't seem like the type of guy who like wants people to follow them on anything.
Yeah, I mean, 2 of my coworkers just released albums, but I don't remember the names of either of their bands, so I'm not going to plug that.
If you are curious about that, reach out to Comrade Cinema in the Discord, and maybe he'll remember. Or I don't know. I don't have anything to plug. I think maybe me and Matt are gonna do another round next if I get back to him in time. So look forward to that, maybe. Nice. But otherwise, thank you for listening, and enjoy.